Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of CasonPoint. I am your host, as always, Jason Cason, and with me we have a special guest. You might have recognized the face. He's been on our show a couple times. We have the man, the myth, the legend, Syspence with us. Today we're going to talk about the greatest thing that has happened in sports in the last 5 months, and that is The Last Dance. ESPN and Netflix put together a production to basically bring to light the very last season of the Bulls when they went for their second three-peat, and they did a great job. They had some interviews with Jordan in there, Reggie Miller, Scottie Pippen, all the guys, Karl Malone, all of them. So we'll dive into kind of our reaction, what we thought, what we learned. But first off, Syspence, how's everything going? How's the life back in Cali now?
Going good, man. Back in Cali, back at home base now, so feeling good.
Good.
How about you?
Good.
How you doing?
Good, man. It's we sports are kind of coming back. Today we had the Tiger Woods Phil Mickelson rematch. They did for coronavirus. It was Tiger and Peyton Manning versus Tom Brady and Phil Mickelson.
Tom Brady. Okay.
Snooze fest.
Yeah, I was seeing some stuff on like Instagram and the memes that always come with that.
Oh yeah, with Peyton Manning doing his grandpa stance and Tom Brady with his split pants.
Yeah, the pant rip or something like that.
Yep.
Classic.
Well, he deserves it. Yeah, that was a snooze fest for sure. The trash talking was awesome, but the golf was meh. But it was something. It was sports.
It was a little bit of something.
We're getting a little bit here and there. Basketball is actually talking about making a full comeback, doing a finishing part of the season, and then jumping right into playoffs. And they're going to basically house everyone at Walt Disney World. So
no way.
So Disney obviously being a huge entity in the NBA, obviously owning ABC, ESPN, they're their biggest buyer. So why not reward them with allowing them to promote their facilities? 100%. So the plan is to fly players that want to be a part of it to Walt Disney World, house them there, play games there. Not sure if they'll do like double headers or whatever, but the plan is to finish the season, jump into the playoffs at Walt Disney World. Vegas was a contender, but obviously when it came down to Vegas and Walt Disney World, Disney pays us X amount of money. Let's reward them for everything that they do for us. Hockey announced they're going to do like a March Madness tournament. So they actually vote on it tomorrow, I believe. I'd have to look, but sounds like it's going to be a 24-team playoff, which sucks because my Kings aren't in it, but it'll be top 24 teams, and it'll basically be I want to say they said 3-game series, and then it just, bracket just like March Madness. And then the winner, they're not even doing the Stanley Cup. Apparently that was like a big thing for the players because, Stanley Cup is so like touted as the greatest trophy. They didn't want like a shortened season rewarding someone with the Stanley Cup if they didn't play a full season for it. So they're calling it like the COVID Cup or something.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that kind of makes sense because then the person that would get it, they wouldn't even feel like they like won it or
Yeah, and that's what Shaq and Barkley were talking about basketball. They were like, just scrap the season because no matter what happens, whoever wins the championship,
that's so true.
Every other team's gonna be like, dude, it was a shortened season. It doesn't even matter. Congrats winning the
they're just gonna get shade thrown on them.
Oh, for sure. So, but hockey, that they're deciding on that. Baseball's still trying to get back into spring training 2.0 in June, which is actually right around the corner. I think 4th of July they're trying to kick the season off. And football, they're ready to go. They don't plan on pushing anything back. So,
and what are they saying? Are they saying fans? They're saying fans in the stadium. They're saying fans in the stadium.
None of the sports are right now are going to. Football is obviously wanting to. I think they were calculating it like, I don't want to misquote the number, but I want to say it was like 16 million. The teams will lose each week if they play games without fans. So even if they have like killer TV ratings and everything blows up, just not having the fans in there, they'll lose right around that number, which is nuts to think because there's 17 weeks in a season. But I hope because the Raiders will be in Vegas for the first year this year, and Mikey and I are planning on going week 7 when Tom Brady's in town. So I hope to God fans can be there because I'm going.
I'm
So
going.
I'll either be in the sports book belligerent drunk, or I'll be at Raider Stadium belligerent
Heck
drunk.
yeah.
One or the other. I'll be there.
Let's go. Let's go. With some
So
money on the game.
oh, 100%. And it's Sunday night, so I'll have all the Sunday morning games to bet on. So I'll
Oh
probably either
goodness.
be in a really
It could be
bad
dangerous.
spot or a really
Yeah, it could be
good spot.
dangerous.
Yeah.
And they've been opening up the sports gambling, and became like 3 more states,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Is it?
Well, yeah. FanDuel's been banging on the door because no actual sports books are open, so they're trying to get other states
That's
to buy into it.
and that's online.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
heard of like my bookie too?
Yeah, my bookie's one. There's like Shark Bookie. There's that one. There's a bunch of them, and like some of them will specialize more in like prop bets over regular bets.
Hmm.
But yeah, I mean, right now it's like any betting that you can get. These people are trying to get something out there. I saw some dude was like, I can't remember what the number was, but some dude was like 15 million up on Korean baseball. Dude just
Oh
been
my
betting
god,
Korean baseball for the last like month and a half. Like
that's insane.
that's an addiction.
Yeah. Oh
That guy
yeah.
needs help.
He needs to
100%.
slow down.
Speaking
Oh
of
my god.
gambling, Jordan, did you see all the stuff about him gambling? Was like 16 million on golf. He was like he owed
Oh,
one
I
dude like
know.
1.6 million at one point.
Yeah, that's
Crazy. That dude
insane.
was a gambling junkie. And then he's like, oh, I'm not addicted. I can stop at any point. It's like, yeah, that's what everyone says, dude. You're betting millions of dollars on golf and that's not even your profession. Yeah, that's an addiction there, buddy.
That's the competitiveness too,
Oh yeah.
And he's just in the
Super
back of
competitive.
all the planes and all the buses and stuff, just playing cards, betting huge hands, like a couple thousands or probably hundreds of
Was
thousands
it
of dollars.
Paxson? One of his other teammates when they were playing like the card game in the front of the plane, but they were playing for like $100. And
Yeah.
Jordan came up and he's like, "Well, I want to play." And they're like, "Oh, you don't want to play with us. We're just playing, $100." He's like, "Oh no, I do because I want to say I took your money."
Yep, I remember that. I think that was Paxton. Yeah, that's
Like, nah,
classic.
dude, you go to the back where you're playing for millions. We're good. We're gonna
Seriously,
stay up here. Oh my gosh,
seriously.
that was funny. What so jumping into Last Dance,
Hmm.
what was the one thing that you took away that you didn't know that would like blew your mind?
Mm. Um. Oh yeah, Scottie Pippen's pay, um, his just whole pay setup and like his contract and everything. That was crazy, and how he's the second. Like I knew how good of a player Scottie Pippen was, but I didn't know like how much like respect he had. He was like the pretty much the second best player in the NBA at the time, and there was like people that were way under him getting paid way more, but he just came in because he was like needed the money and his family needed it, and that whole story, everything was compelling. I was like, dang, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was nuts. Like his brother and his dad were like quadriplegics or whatever, and he just didn't want to risk any injury and not having money, so he just
Yep.
took the money up front. Like that was that definitely was crazy. I knew, and I don't remember where I saw it, um, but I knew that Pippen at one point. I remember stumbling across it when I was reading. I was reading someone. It might have been Barkley when Barkley went from the Suns to the Rockets, or from the
Mm-hmm.
Sixers to the Suns. I remember seeing like the salary cap, and I was like, "Oh, whoa, Jordan's up there, obviously, but where's Pippen?" And then I remember having to like actually scroll through like all the
Scroll.
players. It's like, "Oh, there's Pippen, like 117. Like, how the hell is this dude? How'd they get away
Yeah,
with that?" But makes sense. That
yeah.
brought light to that for sure.
And then
100%.
it brought light to that, and then that shows you like the dynamics of like the team and how like the relationship with the front office and everything, and that just like
Crazy.
really dove into just that whole like kind of how they treated the players. And I don't even know like the whole like Jerry Cross, right?
Jerry
Or Krause,
Krause, yeah.
Jerry Krause, like his whole relationship towards the players. Like what did I wrote it down because I thought this was funny. Phil Jackson said that Jerry Krause deserved more credit than he got, but he didn't deserve as much credit as he wanted.
Yeah, for sure.
And
Dude, can you
so like,
imagine being a coach, winning 3 championships in a row, losing Jordan for a half a season, almost going back to the championship, bringing Jordan back that half a season, then winning
mhm,
two in a row and being told, "Yeah, this is your last year." Like,
yeah, that's
dude,
insane.
I wouldn't have been Phil
And
Jackson.
that
I
half
would have said
season was
F off.
because of his it was a knee injury, right?
For what?
He had an injury for the half a season that he was off.
No, that's when he left for baseball.
Oh, he left for baseball and then came back. Yeah, right.
Because he left for baseball, and then like halfway through, the baseball was going through a lockout, and he refused to jump the picket line. So he went back and started practicing with BJ Armstrong, and that's when he like started getting the love for the game back. But he was also filming Space Jam the next year, like after that half a season, and was just
Mm-hmm.
like training like all off season, playing like all the best players. Like, dude, that if I were to pick any time in sports to be a fly on the wall, to be in that arena, that little thing that Warner Brothers built for him to practice.
Oh yeah.
First of all, how much pull do you have to be like, yeah, I'll make your movie. Just build me a basketball court in the back so I can bring all my buddies and we can play basketball all day. Like,
That's
I would love to
insane.
be like just the equipment guy there, or like the dude that
Yeah.
checks like the light fixtures. Like, I'd love to
Yeah.
be that guy. Just like all
Just
these guys, Reggie Miller pulling up, like every Rodman's there. Just everyone's playing
seriously.
5-on-5 pickup, and it's like literally the dream team is there. Like, that's insane. That would have been
That
so
is
cool.
crazy. That is
Made a
crazy.
movie just off that.
Seriously. Seriously.
Nuts. But I don't understand how Phil Jackson did it. Like if Jerry Krause came up to me and said that, I'd tell him to F off and just quit right there. Like I wouldn't come back. Even and then I know the owner, Reinsdorf or whatever, called him and
Mhm.
was like, hey,
Mhm.
I want you to come back for one more season. It's like
Mhm.
even then I'd be like, no, I'm sorry. Like you can't treat me like that. I just brought you 5 rings. Like you guys were
Yeah.
dog trash before I showed up. I just
Yeah,
brought
and
you
it was
5 rings and you're gonna treat me like this? No. See ya.
that was yeah, that whole dynamic was just so off. Like so off.
Yeah, I wonder if part of me thinks like obviously they didn't dive into like a lot of the depth for like each individual because they were trying to focus on that season
Jordan.
and Jordan, obviously.
Mhm.
But like I wonder if Phil Jackson like had a dream job and that dream job wasn't available yet. Like maybe the Lakers was his dream job and Pat Riley was still there. So he was like, I'm not gonna have that job yet, so might as well just stay here and try to win another championship and build my resume.
Yeah,
But bro,
very much.
I would have never been able to
Do you
swallow my
think
pride and
do you think it
coach.
could have been just like the just coaching Jordan?
Maybe. I mean, it could have been that too, but I
That
wonder. I
relationship?
mean, how passionate Jordan was about retiring so early. If Phil didn't coach, like, who's to say Jordan would have came back for that season?
Yeah, that's so true.
Like, if Krause
Yeah.
came to him and was like, "This is your last season," Phil Jackson's like, "Go f yourself," and then Jordan's like, "Yeah, if he's not coaching, I'm not playing." Then he loses the whole team. Then Krause looks like even more of a stooge.
Yeah, which would completely change everything.
Yeah.
And even the what or I was hearing the talks on like some I think it was like ESPN YouTube of them like I think it was like Jalen Rose like arguing with one of the guys on there about if the Bulls would have won a seven. Did you see that? Won a
Yeah.
seven?
Yep.
They were going back and forth like super hard on that. That was
I
hilarious.
love I love Jalen Rose. Knowing that like Jalen Rose was one of those dudes because Jalen Rose was part of the Fab Five for Michigan, and that
Yeah,
team was like they were like the
insane.
bad boy Pistons because all
Yeah,
five of them came out of
that
high
was like
school
the
at the
first.
same time.
That was like the first 3 episodes, right?
Well, they didn't really they covered the Pistons, but like Jalen Rose's come up story like through Michigan was very similar. Like they were actually Michigan's like touted as when Jalen Rose was there, they were touted as like the ones that brought the long shorts to the game because like everyone was still
Okay.
wearing like the mid thigh
The
shorts,
little yeah.
and it was Jalen Rose, Chris Webber, Juwan Howard. Those guys were just wearing like baggier
Oh no way.
shorts, and that kind of brought the trend back.
Oh heck
And
yeah.
like Jalen Rose was kind of like Reggie Miller, just one of those guys that like had confidence against anyone.
Mhm.
And like he's just like Reggie. Once you bring up MJ, like he knows his place. He'll just be like, dude, I don't care what you say. No one could play at a level that once MJ hit that level, because the one thing that I liked the most was to see Jordan not at that peak. Like to see when
Mhm.
he like what it took him to get to that peak. And
Yeah.
you always talk about athletes like what they do to get to that level. Like what does Tom Brady need to get there, LeBron to get there? Because you'll
Yeah.
see LeBron play in the regular season, you're like, dude, you're missing free throws in clutch time, and then all of a sudden playoffs come and you got new LeBron. Or they'll,
Yeah. For real.
Carmelo Anthony when he wears his headband, it's headband Carmelo or whatever. like you get that next level to see
Uh-huh.
Jordan like at a baseline, which that baseline was still greater than everyone, but just to see him, like, oh, he's 18 for 36 shooting and it's a bad night. And then someone calls him a bitch. And then all of a sudden, boom, he's dropping
Boom.
60 on your ass. Like, it was
That's
crazy.
insane.
The thing that like
I love
really,
that.
oh, dude, 100%.
Hyped
Like,
me up so much when we were watching it. We were getting hyped. Yeah.
dude, that was like, I remember like when I was a kid, like obviously everyone used to make fun of how short I was. So I used to use that. Like when I played basketball, that was like me. Like someone wouldn't even
The
say it. Someone
motivation.
would be like, "Oh, I got 5." I'm like, "Oh, you got 5? All right, you want to guard the short kid?" And then I'd like use that as motivation. And like
Motivation.
Jordan was doing it and people didn't even say anything. Like that dude for
Oh yeah.
the crap, what team was it? There was one of the guys on um was the Sonics or the Jazz or someone. They didn't even say anything to him. They just said like good game or whatever, and he was a rookie. And Jordan like made up this whole story about how he said like was talking trash to him. And then the next
Like
game they
something
played him,
built up in.
he dropped 60. And then they asked him, they're
Yeah.
like, "Oh, what do you think he feels now?" He's like, "Oh, I made that story up just to motivate me." It's like, what?
That. Yeah.
What? You
You're
you did
insane.
that to get to that level? That's insane. Like just his mental that he needed. And
Yeah.
dude, crazy. I remember like because obviously following Tracy McGrady, when he had that 13-point 30-second stretch, they always compare it to Reggie Miller, like what Reggie
Mhm.
Miller did against the
Mhm.
Knicks. So I
Mhm.
always remember watching that video with Spike Lee talking trash to Reggie, and that like kick started Reggie Miller into like a new zone, and he just couldn't miss. And like Jordan always had that. Like that was just
Always had
Jordan would
that
find
fuel.
anything to get, and it didn't even have to be basketball. It could literally be anything. It was like,
I know. Like watching that flu game. You
oh
know.
my God, bro. Like, and that Kayla actually watched that with me, and she was when we were watching it, she was like, "Well, how sick really was he?" I was like, "Watch at the end of the game. Like the most iconic video or picture of Jordan and Pippen is the flu game when Jordan's like literally like dead, laying on Pippen, and Pippen's like carrying him to the bench." I'm like, you can't like that's not acting. That is literally that dude's
100%.
body breaking down. He just dropped 50 and was like deathly ill, like throwing up all night, no sleep, playing an NBA basketball game, and like just
I know.
gave everything. Is insane.
And
So
just like two
crazy.
days, just 2 days before that, I just played like a little bit, like a little pickup game, and I hadn't played in forever. And I was so like out of shape, and I was just dying.
I
And
hate
then
that.
it just refreshed me to think it's like, yo, it's hard, like to play at that level. If you're playing like 40 minutes or like, and that like that high intensity, and then you had the flu, it's just like it's insane.
So crazy. I do like all the clout that pizza joint's getting now. Like
Oh, are
every
they
like,
getting mad clout?
oh, dude, everyone's like, "Bro, when we go to Salt Lake, let's go get pizza there." Like everyone's just like they
That's
literally turned a
hilarious.
bad thing into a good thing. And same thing with that crazy lady at the Pacer games that was like
Oh,
screaming and shouting. They found out
those.
that she owned like a car dealership or whatever. So people are
Oh
like
no
going to
way.
the car dealership now. It's so
Oh my
crazy.
god. Someone's gonna like turn that into like their marketing like thing. They're gonna use like the
Easy.
last dance clip and then like you know, run
100%.
ads on it or
Don't
something.
like our pizza, we'll poison your ass. Simple as that.
Seriously. And what do you think about that?
I don't
Do you
know,
think
man. Like that's so hard to like speculate if that really happened or not.
yeah, for
I,
real.
I think like if the story truly lines up, and that's what I was telling you, that article that I was reading before we jumped on here, that's the guy that was the author was basically saying like, ah, that's a bunch of crap. Like when that story
Mhm.
initially came out, you know, none of that was even talked about. And now all of a sudden they're going to talk about it being poisoned. To have multiple parties there and to see what they didn't talk about enough was Jordan
Mhm.
changed his entire entourage after that. Like
Oh, did he?
everyone, once that happened, because it was like his personal trainer, his buddy, that old bigger dude with the gray beard. That was his buddy.
Yeah.
He like always traveled with them, and like his agent and his marketing guy. They were like basically the crew. Well, if you watch the '97 season, he was always with the security guards and the camera crew. Well, that
Mhm.
became like his entourage. Once that flu game happened, he
Switched
basically
everything
said,
up.
like no one else is hanging out with me, none of this crap. There's a bunch of stories though. Like I read an article that everyone was wanting to eat the pizza because like the big thing was everyone wasn't hungry. They only ordered the pizza for Jordan.
Hmm.
And there's another article that I read like that there was people in the room that said that everyone wanted to eat it, but Jordan was so hungry, so he's like, "No, this is mine," and like spit on the pizza and was like, "No one else is eating it. I just spit on it. This is mine only." And like, there's
Oh
a
my
bunch of
god.
stories that are like coming out, and so it
Uh-huh.
makes it really hard to really be like, "Oh, it was definitely food poisoning." But a lot of the stuff's
Just
fishy. Like
whatever.
sending 5 dudes to deliver a pizza, like that's a
Yeah.
little weird, dude.
Whatever story's most mainstream, it tends to be what people believe. So like
One hundred
whatever like the
percent.
most popular mouth it
How
comes
did they
from.
even know it was Jordan though? Is he calling with Jordan's card? Like, how stupid are
Yeah,
you? Yeah, I got my buddy Michael Jordan wants a
that's
pizza.
exactly what I was thinking. That's
Like
exactly
what?
what I was thinking. I was like, if you're the manager, or it's like it was his trainer or
Yeah,
something
it was
that
his
called it in
trainer.
for him. It was his trainer. It's like, why would you call in saying it's Michael? Or what? I don't even know.
It's Marquise Jordan.
Or maybe just figured out from like through the hotel or something like
Yeah, and like
that.
maybe that too. Like I
The
thought that too.
lobby.
Like maybe it came from that hotel. That hotel is like only the players are there, and they only house them on like a certain floor. And oh hey, look, it's at that floor. But even then, it's like 5 people like that. That's that seems a little weird that you're going to send
Oh yeah.
5 dudes up to deliver a pizza. Like, what'd you expect? Michael Jordan's like, oh hey guys, thanks for the pizza. Want me to sign the box? Like, no, he's going to take the pizza and get the f out, and he might not even answer the door. He probably won't answer the door.
Yeah, he probably won't
So
answer the
I don't
door.
know, that whole scene was kind of weird. But if it was true, I would not put it past Utah Jazz fans because, dude, legit, I've seen
Savages.
multiple games live. I will never go to Salt Lake ever again to watch a basketball game.
For
They are
real.
the worst fans on the face of the planet. They are like they're
They're
so
jerks.
they're jerks, they're entitled, I can't even explain it. Like if you were to think I'm going to go watch my team at an opposing arena, what your
Mm-hmm.
worst experience would be,
It's Utah
that's what
Jazz.
my experience was, and my team kicked their ass. When I
That's
went, the Rockets
insane.
beat them. They were up by like 25. Chris Paul didn't even play. They beat him by like 25, and the fourth quarter wasn't even over. And they were playing like the third string guys. And there was a kid. We were sitting. It was me, Kayla, and Zayden. And Zayden's
Uh-huh.
like 1 at this point.
Uh-huh.
And Zayden has his little jersey on. I have my jersey on. This kid walks up. He has to be 8, wearing a Harden jersey. And some dude, no lie, like had to be 40 or 50, like supposed to be a mature guy,
Yeah.
stands up and goes, "That's a shitty jersey. Get the F out of here." Like to a kid. I'm like,
And
what are
you're
you?
like, what the dude's 8.
Who
The kid's
gives a
8.
crap, man? Like, what?
And you
Who
would
are
think that
you?
different. You would think like differently because of like Utah and
Yeah.
like the
No,
Mormon
dude,
state, you know.
terrible. And then they had that whole spat with Russell Westbrook, that one dude that got banned from the stadium, and then they
I
had
didn't
to
hear
have like
about
a
that.
whole meeting. You didn't hear about that?
Uh-uh.
Yeah,
Uh-uh.
Westbrook was like on the bench, and this dude starts like basically calling him racial slurs, and Westbrook basically like he didn't fight him, but Westbrook like got off the bench, started walking towards, and was basically calling the security guards and was like calling him out and was like, "Get this guy out of here! Like I'm not
Yeah.
doing this anymore."
I think I might have saw a clip like
And
that or
then like
something.
after the game, after the press conference, Russell Westbrook just put the guy on blast. Just started saying word for word what the guy was calling him, all this stuff. So the Jazz
Oh
found out
heck
who
yeah.
it was and said, "See ya, don't ever come back." But it's
That's
like
what's up.
that's all of them. Like every Jazz fan is like that, and you'll get some guys that like I know plenty of people that are Utah fans that will BS back and forth, but it never gets to a point where it's like you're delusional. But I
Mm-hmm.
legit think that Jordan ruined those people. Like those Jazz teams were like probably the best top to
Best
bottom roster
ever.
in basketball at that time. To have Karl Malone, John Stockton, like that was the best 1-2 punch that you'd find outside of like maybe Penny Hardaway and Shaq. Like
Oh yeah.
that was the 1-2 punch at point guard and at forward or center.
It
And
was cool. It was cool
Jordan
to
just
see
came in
that in
and
the
whooped their
Last Dance.
ass.
Yeah, it was cool because I didn't even know too much about that, and I like heard of John Paxson before plenty of times. So it was cool like see a little bit of like his involvement. I didn't get to see like most of it. I don't know too much about his story, but got a little taste of that, and then Karl Malone also.
Good on Karl
It's like
Malone though to go on the bus and like congratulate everyone after he just lost the second time in the finals. Like, dude,
a
I'd be,
hundred, a hundred
I'm
percent.
not going on
And
that bus.
and honestly, the only reason why I went on the bus is because of Michael Jordan,
Oh
and
yeah,
it's like he's such
wanted to
like an
keep that.
OG. Just wanted to keep that respect and be able to play golf with him, in the summer or whenever.
The thing that blew my mind the most was the Dennis Rodman leaving for the WrestleMania or the NXT or NXO or whatever the hell or
Just
NWO, the New World
was
Order.
it was like an Eastern Conference final or was it the
Yeah,
final?
it was the Eastern Conference fine. No, it was the finals. It was the
Was
NBA
it the
finals
final?
against the Jazz. Yeah, he left because Malone and him were gonna do Malone and him were gonna do a tag team with um, Hulk Hogan and the other dude,
Karl
and
Malone was?
yeah, and they actually did.
Okay.
They ended up doing it. So that's why
Uh-huh.
that scuffle that they had where like Rodman and Malone were like banging and they kept tripping over each other.
Uh-huh.
Like
Uh-huh.
apparently the rumors are that New World Order paid Malone and Rodman to do that to help promote their wrestling match that they'd have later in the year. So they told them at one point in the series, you guys need to
Just
go at it because we're going to use that to promote your guys' wrestle match or whatever.
That's crazy. And
So crazy.
there's just so much publicity over there that stuff works.
Oh, and
That
back then, dude,
building
wrestling
that
was
narrative.
huge.
Oh yeah.
Rodman wasn't dumb, dude. People think Rodman was just, the guy that was collecting rings, riding on everyone's coattails. That dude, I don't think you'll ever find a player that is okay with being the third wheel and at the same time grabbing the spotlight the way he did. Because he did it,
Yeah.
he was himself. He wanted to be himself.
100%.
And if you didn't like it, F off. I mean, he left that Pistons team. If he would have stayed on that Pistons team and that Pistons team gets like I don't know, like a Ron Harper, like gets a good
Mhm.
bench player, the Pistons probably could have kept their run going. Losing Rodman was actually a lot bigger than people talk about for the Pistons. Like he
Mhm.
was the backbone, and he was the backbone of that Bulls team. Like that dude's grabbing boards,
For real.
fighting in the trenches.
For real.
Like it was
How many
insane.
and how many rings did he end up winning for the Bulls or with them?
He had four.
Or was it four?
Yeah, I think
And then
he.
he won two or one with the Pistons.
Uh, that's actually a good question. I think it was. I think he finished with four. I think he had four total. So either he had two and two or three and one. I think he finished
And
with
it
four
was the
rings
later
total.
years with the Bulls. It was like the
Yeah,
last three
yeah,
or
like
something
that
like that.
last three, he was there. But I'm pretty sure because I can't. And that's like that jump, that timeline that we were talking about, like how it kept
That's what
jumping.
kind of started. Yeah,
Dude,
that was
that
the
like threw
confusing
me for
thing
a loop because
because
that was another.
Rodman was on the team and they
Yeah,
jump back and then he's playing for the Pistons. We're like, what's
yep,
going on?
exactly. Because I can't remember that time, but I want to say I know that final three-peat, Rodman was there. So he definitely has three with the Bulls. So
Okay.
he either has one with the Pistons or two with the Pistons. So he either has four or five. I'd have to look
And
that up.
Phil Jackson just letting him like kind of do his thing and understanding him and
Zen
that.
Master, dude.
What about that flying today in the NBA?
Oh God. Well, I mean, it would. I if Rodman was Jordan, then yes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like there, I don't know if you've ever heard of Derek Jeter, what he used to do. So like Derek
Uh-uh.
Jeter would like sleep with like a random chick like every night. And then
Oh gosh.
when she would wake up, he would like call a limo for her. And in the limo was like a gift basket. And it was like all of his memorabilia signed by him. And it was basically like a hush package. It was like, hey, this is between me and you. What you did to me and what I did to you doesn't leave my room. Here's a signed ball by me and a signed poster and some tickets to the next game. Just keep your mouth shut. Well, apparently
Oh my
someone
gosh.
decided not to keep their mouth shut and went back and it started becoming like this whole like storyline, especially being in New York
Uh-huh.
City.
Oh yeah.
And the Yankees just kind of were like, yeah, whatever, brush it under the rug. It's Derek Jeter. He's the captain. Like, I feel like at some point, like that publicity is okay and you can like bring that
Mm-hmm.
on. But like, I don't know. Like, dude, when he
Or
asked for
like just missing practices and he's like,
yeah,
or can I go to Vegas for 2 days?
that was the best, dude. He's like, I need a vacation. And Jordan's like, what? You need a
He's like,
vacation?
Yeah,
what
he's
are you
like,
gonna do? He's like, dude, 48 hours. Just let me go to Vegas for 48 hours. And Jordan's like,
and then
dude, coach, if he
he's
goes,
like,
he's
he's like,
not
let him
coming
go,
back.
let him go, Phil, or was he with? Yeah, it was Phil, right?
Phil was
Yeah,
like,
let
yeah,
him go.
just go. It's okay. You can have a vacation. Jordan's like, bro, he's not coming back. If you
And
let
then
him
he
go.
didn't come back, and like, and he
So
was supposed to
Jordan
be
had to
there at
go
the
get
same
him.
time. Yeah, they had to go get him, right? Yeah.
Oh, dude, when he's pounding Coors Lights, walking out to his motorcycle to go to Vegas, that was like, you would never
Yeah.
see that ever again.
No.
Just crushing beers, hops on a chopper, and gets the
Dude,
F out. That was so awesome. Dude,
that's
Rodman,
insane.
legitimately, like Rodman, watching that, I've always, like, I grew up, obviously, Rodman was, I was really young when Rodman was super popular. And
Hmm.
by the time I started understanding, Rodman was in his like cuckoo loco phase, like marrying
Yeah.
himself, like all
Hmm.
that. Like he was the only thing I remember about Rodman as a kid was playing the video games. Like I think it was like NBA Live '98. Like if you played a season with the Bulls, every week or whatever, his hair would change. So like you'd
Oh, dude.
never had Rodman like with green hair. You'd have like Rodman with green hair, and then with blonde hair, and then with red hair, and it
That's
like changed throughout the game. So it was like that was like super cool. That was like all I really knew about Rodman. And then as I
mhm.
started getting
That's
older,
pretty
and
much all I knew too. Yeah.
then he was doing the drag stuff, and it was like, and then the whole Kim Jong Un stuff, like that was like okay, this Rodman guy's like off his rocker. Watching this, Rodman's like top 5 favorite player now. Like that
Oh
guy,
yeah.
that dude
He's
was
a
a
he's a
grinder.
G. I
He'd
mean,
do
yeah.
anything, and that dude could party like that.
Oh yeah.
Back in his prime, bro, like that's the dude that you wanted to go. Like that was insane.
Turn up with, yeah. And he was dating Carmen Electra.
And
Just
then
like,
and then Madonna like had a stint with Madonna
oh,
because Madonna was just like, I really want to hang out with Dennis Rodman. And Dennis Rodman's like, I
I
want to
watched
have
an
sex with you. Let's do this.
yeah, and I watched an interview with Dennis Rodman and Madonna. Or not Dennis Rodman and Madonna, but him talking about the Madonna situation. And like, I guess one night she like, and this is what Dennis Rodman is just saying. I think it was like a no jumper interview, and Madonna was like, Madonna was trying to get pregnant by Dennis Rodman. That was like her main goal, to have like a kid with Dennis Rodman.
That's so
And he was
awesome.
like, and just his way of explaining the story, you could imagine like with his just characteristic is
Oh my god,
hilarious.
dude. I love everything about Dennis Rodman. He's literally the greatest. And to answer the trivia, it is 5 rings. He won the back to back
Okay,
with the Bad Boy Pistons, and then he won the three-peat with the Bulls. So
dang,
that's 5.
that's a that's crazy. You get to win a back to back and then a three. That's like that's a run right there on both sections.
Dude, how about Steve Kerr? You know, Steve Kerr won 4 in a row
That's insane.
because he
Oh,
won
who
the
did he
well, he
who did
won
he win before?
the three-peat with the Bulls,
And then he
and
was.
then the '99 season he got traded to the Spurs, and the Spurs won the championship that year.
And did he have a good? Did he have good like? Or was
Yeah,
he
no,
doing
he
good
was
on
he
it?
was actually more of a contributor with the Spurs than he was with the Bulls. The
Oh
Bulls,
dang.
he had the big shots, but with the Spurs, he actually like put up good stats. He was
How
actually a good
how
contributor.
about that legendary pep rally or the end of like the ceremony when he jumps on the stage, Steve Kerr, and then he like makes that joke about Jordan? Do you remember that?
That was
I forget
awesome.
exactly what he said. He was
when he,
like,
when he was like, yeah, Phil drew this play up, and he said, everyone thinks it's going to Michael, but Steve, I really want you to take the shot. Jordan's been lacking on us a little bit, and we know that you can
yeah,
take it. And Jordan's just dying laughing, and
yeah,
everyone knows, like, okay, that definitely wasn't the case,
yeah.
but good
He's
on
just
Steve
being
Kerr.
so.
I like the narrative about both of them losing their dads, and like how that
Yeah,
was the bunk because
that was crazy.
they were not co-captains together at the start. I mean, Jordan punched him in the face. So, but to have like the death of their parents or their dads kind of
And bring
bring
him
them
together.
together, that was kind of cool. That was cool to see.
Yeah,
How about,
yeah. And that was.
how about
I didn't
Jordan
even.
calling that rookie a hoe?
I don't remember that. When was that? When was
When
that?
the new kid that came in, oh god, now I can't remember his name, but the new kid that came in and was talking trash to Jordan during
Oh my.
practices, and they did a scrimmage, and Jordan just destroyed him and then called him a hoe.
Just
Next
straight
level, dude.
savage.
Next
Oh yeah.
level. Whoa,
Yeah,
so awesome.
I didn't know about like any of that. I didn't even also I didn't even know Jordan's dad died and died like that, and like I didn't know, and then it ties into like him like probably pushing him to retire, and then just like everything that was going on with the Bulls, and then the lack of motivation, and that probably helped it too.
Yeah, I remember like I did when I lived in California when I was younger. I did a basketball camp, and
Mhm.
um, we would do. It was like a 3 day basketball camp, and like the second day you would do like shoot around, and then we did it at a high school, and then we'd go into a
Okay.
classroom, and you would watch a um a documentary, and the documentary was basically
Okay.
on um like the last 10 greatest players of their era. So like it covered a little bit of Kareem, and then it covered a little bit of Bird and Magic and Jordan and Kobe,
Heck
and it
yeah.
like went through
Heck
everyone,
yeah.
and it kind of gave like a brief synopsis of like, how they got there, and then like what they did. And I
Uh huh.
remember that, like, that was Jordan's big thing, was they talked about his comeback and how it was tough for him to play without his dad. um but it was weird. The one thing that I did not know was how I remember reading a book, and shout out to my pops, because I actually,
Heck yeah.
um I remember my dad when I was like playing baseball and golf. Like my dad
Uh
was
huh.
always super hard on me,
Uh
and
huh.
I remember one time I like snapped on my dad. I was like 10, and I was like, because my dad used to always be like, "Hey, great job," and my dad was like, he had photographic memory. He'd be like, "Hey, in the third inning, great job when you had that bang bang play there, da 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 da.
Uh huh.
But in the fifth inning, when you took that strike three, you should have really done this," and like he would totally bash me. So finally, I like snapped. I was like, "Hey, how about you just give me a compliment and not say but? Because I'm really sick and tired of everything that you're saying that I'm doing wrong."
Uh
And
huh.
all I remember my dad saying, "Do you think Tiger Woods, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, do you think those guys ever got where they're at because their dad gave them compliments?" And I remember as a kid, I was like, you know what? Whatever, dude. And now looking
Yeah.
back, I was like, he's not wrong. Like
Yeah.
Tiger
Yeah.
Woods' dad is documented to be a dick. Michael Jordan's
Yeah.
dad was documented to be a dick. Like
Yeah.
I didn't know
It was like
how
tough
much like
love.
Jordan's dad was just like, yeah, whatever, go play basketball if you want, but you're never gonna be anything. Like what? Like that's your dad, bro. Like how do you keep, and like all that did was motivate him to be better.
And just
Like
prove him wrong. Yeah.
yeah, that was crazy. And then he picks up baseball because that was like his first love, but he didn't want to play basketball without his dad there. Like that sucked.
And then I know, and that's crazy too. That like he even got accepted into that. And you think, what do you think about that? You think like his athleticism is what brought him there? Or you think it's just his
I thought it was
stature?
really cool when Terry Franco. First of all, I did not know Terry Francona was the manager of that Double A team, because Terry Francona now is like a very well
Big time.
touted baseball coach. Like if you look up Terry Francona, like everyone talks about all the World Series and all the teams that he had. I mean, he was that series where it was the Indians and the Cubs, where the Cubs won their first ring in X amount of years. He was the manager
Mm-hmm.
of the Indians and brought that Indians team to where they were at. So, I mean,
Dang.
Terry Francona is a great man. When I saw Terry Francona start doing the interview, I was like, "What the hell is Terry Francona doing?" And then it was
What's
like
going on?
Barron's manager during Jordan tenure. I was like, "What? He was coaching the Barons? That's cool." To hear him
Yeah.
come out and be like, if there wasn't a lockout, Jordan would have been in the majors. Like that's crazy, because I was not
Oh yeah, he
old
did say
enough to
that, huh?
watch Jordan play double A ball, and everything you hear and read about is that he was awful, and that he couldn't hit
Mhm.
curveballs. He could hit fastballs because that was batting practice basically, but he couldn't
Uh
hit
huh.
off speed or
A
anything with
curve or
movement.
change.
And to hear Terry Francona basically say like he was the hardest working guy, he would, bat like 100 times a day, which was unheard of, and
Mhm.
try to perfect his craft. If they didn't have a lockout, he'd probably be in the majors. Like that to me was just like, dang, like Jordan was good. Like that's
And that could
because
have changed a lot too. Yeah.
oh yeah, big time. Like my favorite athlete of all time is Bo Jackson. Just not only
Bo
because he
Jackson.
was an Oakland Raider, but because of what he was able to do in sports. Like Bo Jackson is a like overall athlete that is ungodly. Like
Heck
the
yeah.
dude was an all-star baseball player and a Pro Bowl football player. And if he didn't have his injuries, he probably would have been one of the greatest running backs to ever play football. and which would have also probably put him in that same conversation for baseball. Him and Deion Sanders both were kind of those, multi-sport guys. To know that Jordan could have been in that if it wasn't for that lockout. Like Bo Jackson was playing both sports. And then when he went to Auburn, it was still like both of those sports were his love. And
Yeah.
then he gets drafted. And I don't remember what team it was, but there was a team that drafted him. And he said that he wanted to play baseball, and they said no. And so he ended up going to the Raiders because the Raiders were like, sure, you can play baseball too. And, if it wasn't for that, he probably would have just played football, but the Raiders allowed that to happen. If Jordan would have stuck with baseball, who's to say Jordan wasn't playing both sports?
Seriously.
Obviously those seasons kind of overlap a little bit more than football and baseball, but for
Yeah.
him just to not play, was it like 9 or 10 years, never even played a game of baseball, and then decides to go into
Or it
Double
was
A.
like longer. I think it was longer than that or something.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. And
Like
then he had
15, 20 or something.
people don't talk about how he started the season with like a 13-game hitting streak. Like
And then
it's
he batted like a 250.
he was legit. I think that once I heard Terry Francona say that, I was like, okay, like I think people need to give Jordan a little more respect. I think his greatness was at such a high level for basketball. Just to see him be mediocre, not even mediocre because he was playing semi-professionally, to be above mediocre but not great was like, oh, he sucks.
Yeah, for real. For
But
real.
that was
I
cool.
agree.
I loved like, I don't think, aside from the timeline jumping and everything, I could see how there's stories coming out that, some of the stuff was, a fib or whatever. Like they,
Just tried to be made up, just to, like, make drama, just to
I
bring
could see
drama into
that.
the documentary and stuff. But
Yeah.
all the front office stuff looked like it was pretty on
Oh,
point,
dude,
and like
that
that would look like it was real, And that was drama right
100%.
there that they brought light to, that all of us were like, most of us didn't know about. That was pretty interesting.
Because I knew he played for the Barons, and I knew the Barons were the White Sox affiliate, but I
Hmm.
never once put two and two together that the owner of the Bulls also owned the White Sox, and that's
Yeah,
how it happened. I never even
yeah.
put that together. I just thought, oh, he decided to play baseball, and a team from Chicago's affiliate was like, hey, let's bring Jordan in because it's going to be good publicity. I had
Hmm.
no idea that
Yeah, that
Reinsdorf
was a
owned
trip
both.
too.
That was
And
crazy.
even just the fact of, like, somebody who I don't know who said this, but like the equity of the Bulls, and like how Jordan just pretty much created, like, brought all the money in for them, and even to Chicago, like how he probably, like, changed Chicago. Like there's probably so many buildings in Chicago right now built because of Jordan's popularity and the money that he brought into that city when he was in the 90s, that they were able to, like, build stuff. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like,
Think about,
I
like,
wouldn't
right.
doubt it.
I was reading an article that the Bulls prior to Jordan were like the Cleveland Browns of football today. Like
Okay.
at times they had good rosters, but they could, they were never going to be like, oh my God, watch out for the Bulls. Same with
Mm-hmm.
the Browns. Imagine the Browns getting Tom Brady, like what Tom Brady would do to Cleveland. LeBron, perfect example. Look what the Cavs before LeBron showed up. Then LeBron comes in, Cleveland
Make
blows up, and then he
Yeah,
leaves and Cleveland kind of deflates, and then he comes back and it blows up again. Like that.
yeah.
Jordan did that for Chicago 100%. Now, Chicago then in the 80s and the 90s, Chicago was a really good um, baseball and football city because
Okay, they were
the Bears were good. The
killing
85
it. So they
Bears were like, they're like the most prestigious defense ever. And then
Okay, so
the Cubs and the
they
White
had
Sox were good.
something in the city going for sure.
But basketball
But
definitely, like
basketball,
basketball
nothing.
blew up. Like right now, if you were to go to Chicago and you were just to pull like random fans or random people and be like, oh, who's your favorite Chicago team? You're probably going to get the Bulls more than
Cool.
anything.
Well, and basketball is worldwide, is most,
Yep.
like, known worldwide. Like people are not people in which they I don't know 100%, but there's probably not people in China that really know Tom Brady as much as they know Kobe.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like they know
Yeah.
Kobe more than Tom Brady.
Easy.
Just
Yeah.
for sure.
Way more international. I did like all the appearances from David Stern, like his interviews, since
Yeah,
he's passed, because
yeah,
obviously
that was
he
cool.
would have been like really cool to have insight on everything that was going down being the commissioner. but being able
Yeah.
to pull clips like from his interviews for the show was really cool.
Yeah,
That was really
that
cool to
was sick.
see. But
That was sick.
um, dude, that was. I think if I was thinking about this earlier, what
Mhm.
of any of Jordan's opponents that he faced,
Uh-huh.
who do you think was his toughest matchup watching?
It's a good question.
Because like for
It's a good
me,
question.
I always thought that
That
his toughest matchup was obviously the Pistons, being that they beat
Pistons,
him those 2 years. But watching that flashback to when
the
they played the
Jazz.
Sonics, like what Gary
Okay.
Payton, when Gary Payton was just like, no, no, no,
Oh yeah,
I got
that back and
Jordan.
forth right there.
Dude,
Yeah.
that was not. And then Jordan watching Gary Payton talking trash, and he's just laughing at him watching the video when Gary Payton was like, "Oh yeah, I'd shut him down." There's nothing. Jordan just like, dude, whatever. Like I feel like if you got Pippen and Jordan against Kemp and Payton for like
Payton.
10 years, I feel like that'd be like the greatest. Right, that'd be better than Magic Bird.
Yeah, it was cool. It was cool to see a little bit of Jordan and Magic and Bird too at the beginning.
How funny was that
That's legendary.
when Jordan beat the Pacers and then Bird comes to
In
congratulate
the
him and
locker room, yeah,
just starts cussing him out like you bitch because he knew that he was
yeah,
running defenses to shut him down.
that's hilarious. And then Jordan's like, "Yeah, go practice on that golf
Golf
game."
game.
Jeez. Just talking to Larry Bird,
Oh my
and he's
god,
the
dude, that
coach.
was awesome. That I though I think like my biggest takeaway was just to see how true of a savage Jordan was. Like
Absolutely.
not just his gameplay and not just his trash talking, but like even his business ventures, like what he did in like for his brand, like turning down like
Or the Olympics.
dude, that was crazy when he covered the
That was
Reebok with the
insane,
flag.
bro.
Like
That was
that's nuts.
insane.
And
Like that when he was driving in the car and they started talking to him, he's like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna wear it." He's like, "They have to give me something else." And they figured out to
yeah,
be
because
the
they were like,
flag or
well,
something.
if you don't wear it, they're gonna take your medal. And he's all, they'll
Yeah,
see. And so he wears it and just puts the flag over it so you don't
the
see it.
most OG way to do it, and it's the American
Bro,
flag.
so smart. And like there's one thing that I learned about Jordan that is like I feel like every decision that was made for Jordan was by Jordan. I feel like Jordan was making all these decisions for himself when
Yeah, for sure.
like some of these guys you'll see and you're like, dude, that's not a decision that person would make. Like their PR person's making that decision for them.
Uh huh. Uh
Like
huh.
Jordan made his own decisions. Like when
Like
he
when he
turned that
chose.
Reebok deal down, when Reebok was
Yeah,
like, here's 10 million or whatever just to, sign with us and not negotiate with anyone else. And he's like, nah. And like Converse was the big shoe and Converse did like 20 million.
and he said he wanted to go to Adidas, but then they didn't have the backing to support
Yeah, and
him,
his
and
his
then.
manager was just like, bro, I talked to Adidas and Adidas is like, hey, we want you. We just can't. We don't
But then
have the means of making your own shoe line right now.
And then with the Nike thing, he said that like he didn't even want to go there at the
No, he did
beginning,
not
but
want
then his
Nike.
mom and dad were like, "You have to just sit down and see what they have
You
to
have to
say."
go. You have to go. And he's like, all right,
They
I'll go.
went,
Yep.
and then it was crazy seeing how he changed Nike. Like
Yep.
I think he has the biggest impact on Nike. Period.
No, dude, biggest impact
Nike.
on sports branding in merchandise and
Period.
clothing ever.
He
Ever.
set the paveway, and he set he set it for everyone. So now they have a blueprint, and he did it better than anybody, and nobody
How
still can.
how dope was
Nobody
it
can drop
when
that.
the year before he left for baseball when he played at the Garden and wore his Jordan 1s and dropped 50 on
That
him,
was
dude.
so
That
lit.
was awesome.
Dude,
Like
and
just
he's like, my feet are bleeding. And
yeah.
it's just like, or
And that
just
was
when he
cool
was
too.
just putting them on.
That was one of those where like when you're watching the interview, like right then during that documentary was the one time where I was like, all right, all these stories are getting blown out of proportion to make this sound cooler. And then when they
Mhm.
panned to the interview after the game, when Ahmad Rashad was like, how you feeling? He's like, bro, my feet are killing me. It's like, dude, that was like actually a
The
live interview. So
realness
that
in
was
it.
happening. Like
Yeah.
that's
And
insane. The thought process of like, hey, this is probably my last game at the Garden. I'm going to wear my first shoes that I wore at the Garden and then drop
that's just
50
like,
on them in those shoes.
that's
Nuts.
just like some like OG, like
Savage. He's
goat
legit a
mentality. That's like
savage.
goat mentality. Yeah.
Dude, so crazy. And then the they didn't speculate on the business, but there was that one business that like offered him $100 million just to show up and do like a commercial or whatever, and he's like, "Nah, I'm not doing that." Like, what superstar do you know would turn down $100
A
million?
hundred million.
Like, you see guys, who was it? Oh my God, was it Shaq? There's one of the players that did like a Depends commercial, and like I remember
Oh
as a
my god.
kid watching that, I'm like,
Seeing that,
bro, like,
you're like,
how much are
what
they
is
paying
going
you?
on?
Like, 100 million. I'd do that for 100 million. Like, whatever that company was, Jordan did not like it, and Jordan was like, "No, I'm good. Like, I'm not gonna do that." And even his
Seriously.
manager was like, "Dude, it's $100 million. Just show up and do the commercial." And Jordan's like, "No, I'm good. I don't want to do it." Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy.
So nuts. But yeah, I think the one thing that I did like about like the impact of this whole thing is you're still hearing like LeBron or Jordan, but I feel like
Hmm.
a lot of people that are generally making the argument for LeBron are seeing how different the game was during
Yeah.
this, because dude, the game is
The
nowhere
fouls
near,
and
bro. Like,
how hard people
the
played.
Pistons literally won championships off of kicking your ass. Like, that was their mentality was, we aren't as talented as you, so we're gonna beat you
I'll
up.
hurt you.
Yeah. And
Literally.
no one does that in the NBA
We're like gonna
nowadays.
try to take out your best player. Like we're
Yeah.
gonna try to injure your best player.
The
Like
coach
that's
was
gonna be our
like,
goal.
during the game, the coach was like, do not let him leave his feet. Hit him before he leaves his feet. Like,
And now that's like
during the game.
now that's what is that called? What do they call that now?
Flagrant.
Type of, yeah, it's a flagrant. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anytime you,
Nuts.
it's way nuts now.
And like me,
Especially
like,
just
I technically grew up, if you wanted to balance it, I technically grew up in the LeBron era. Like, if
hmm
as a fan, I watched all
yeah.
of LeBron's career and like 2 years of Jordan's career. So
hmm
technically, I'm the LeBron era. I'm more of the Kobe era, but like, never once have I ever thought LeBron was even close to Jordan. Like,
hmm
Jordan to me is Gretzky. Like, no
Heck
matter
yeah.
what, no matter what stats you read off, no matter who you think, Gretzky is the great one. Like, that literally his
Straight up.
nickname. He is the great one.
The great one. Heck yeah.
And like, no one will ever even come close to that. And Jordan's the same way for me. Like,
Straight up.
I never even compared those. And to hear people make their arguments, Jordan's more of an all-around player. Like, Jordan is Magic Johnson, just better. Like, okay, cool, you can make that argument, but
hmm
6 championships speak for themselves. And then when you start going back to, oh yeah, but his first 5 years, he couldn't even, get past the first round of the playoffs. Okay. But he started developing a team, developing his skills, and then he won 3 in a row, and then took a half a year off, and then won 3 in a row again. So, aside from
Seriously.
Bill Russell, tell me anyone that can win that much. Um,
Seriously.
but
And
it's
even
cool
just
to see that conversation kind of die down now, because everyone's seeing what Jordan went through.
seriously, and that's what the last. And I feel like he almost wanted that too. And they're like, he wanted this. He was like, I want this last dance to come out, kind of shut people up about this
Well,
conversation.
yeah,
You know.
he was talking about how it's been like in a vault for like, and he was waiting for the perfect time. And I
He's
can't
so
remember.
competitive. This is probably part of his like gameplay. He's like, oh, I'll let this speak for myself, bring me back in the game, because he's like,
Yeah, 100%. And it's kind of cool because they didn't. I wish the last episode, because they ended the season with like 20 minutes left of that last episode. I wish they
mm-hmm.
made that last episode like another 15 minutes and dove into like what each of those players from that Last Dance team is doing now. And
Yeah, that would have been
they
sick.
could have dove into what Kerr's done with the Warriors as a head coach. They could have
Seriously.
dove into Jordan owning the Hornets. Like, people don't talk about, like, yeah, people want to call Jordan an arrogant douche and like all this stuff, but people don't understand what Jordan did for the game and for like certain places like Charlotte. Charlotte was the Hornets. Like, back in the
Mm-hmm.
day, it was the Charlotte Hornets. Then they
Mm-hmm.
moved to New Orleans, become the New Orleans Hornets, and then they bring the
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte Bobcats in. Well,
Mm-hmm.
Jordan, when he took over the Charlotte franchise, he went straight to the NBA and was like, "Look, New Orleans is not the Hornets. Charlotte is the Hornets. So New Orleans needs to change their name, and the Hornets need to come back to Charlotte."
Heck
And
yeah.
made that whole change, brought the Hornets back to Charlotte, and then New Orleans became the
Dang.
Pelicans. And
I didn't even know that.
people don't talk about that because it's, whatever. The Hornets aren't my favorite team. Who gives a crap? But Like
Mhm.
Jordan respects the game so much and respects the heritage of the game. Like
You
he will do anything to make sure that the game is the way that he left it. And
100%.
I think like watching this makes a whole lot more sense with like his roster building in Charlotte. Cause like when I watch the Hornets, I'm like, bro, Jordan is your owner. How do you suck this bad? Like Jordan should be able to help the GM and the coach develop talent, and to see like
Right?
Jordan's looking for those guys that have that edge that he had. And he's
Mhm.
not looking for talent. He's looking
Mhm.
for that edge. Who has that edge?
Mhm.
Kemba Walker
Mhm.
had that edge. Wasn't the most talented guy in that draft, but
Mhm.
he had the
Mhm.
edge. And that's what he's going
Mhm.
for. So it was really cool to see like this is how he played and this is how he sees the game of basketball, and kind of like roll into his ownership, because I feel like they should have covered a little bit more
For
of like
real.
all that, because I that's something I want to see. Like I want to see
Oh yeah, me
like
too.
Jordan's mindset.
Like even now on that, I'm like, yeah,
Like he's so competitive. How do you sit there like the Hornets? I think they made the playoffs like twice in the last like 10 years. How do you own a team and never make the playoffs and you're that competitive?
for
Especially
real.
when you have other owners and
Like
GM.
Cuban stuff
Yeah,
that are
and
just
even like
insanely
Magic.
involved and so competitive and Magic.
Magic was president for the Lakers for a little bit. Larry Bird's with the Pacers right now. Phil Jackson was with the Lakers and then with the Knicks. Like
Mhm.
you have this inner circle of everyone that you played against and played with, and you all have that competitive edge. Like how are you taking that beat down when your
Taking
team
these L's.
like that?
I know.
That I want to see that. Like I really ESPN, if you're watching, I know you're not, but if you are, like make a Last Dance
Make that.
2.0 and just on Jordan as an owner. Like that's what I want to see. I want to see that.
That'd
Like
be
that stuff
sick.
intrigues me.
That'd be seriously. Or someone that's watching, go do research and do a document,
Yep,
like a
easy.
document.
Docu-series. Let's
Yeah,
go. Let's
a
hit it on
docu series
YouTube.
on like YouTube or something. Yeah,
Yep.
make
We
it
won't even
happen.
take credit for our idea. That's fine. You can do it. Just I just want to watch it. That's all.
Yeah, we
We just
gave you
gotta
the
get an
idea.
interview
Just
of
do
Jordan.
that.
Was I the only one
Yeah,
that thought Jordan was high as a kite the entire time with all those interviews? Dude,
just
his eyes
chilling,
were red. Like I felt like there was something else in that
100%.
cigar, bro.
Seriously, his eyes, and I feel like there's a whole bunch of memes like that too, like those crying memes of him
Yep.
back in the day and stuff
Yep.
like that. His eyes might just be like that,
How
bro.
about that final cigar that was like 20 feet long?
And it's like super skinny though, and just like
It's like
lit.
the thing was like standing like 10 feet from the sliding glass door and it was almost touching the glass.
How about them drinking like brews and cigars in the locker room? Like, what do you think
Before
about that?
games, like Jordan walking into the game and they're like, oh, how do you feel? He's like, oh, good. Had a few beers, played a game of golf. Let's do this. It's like, what?
Yeah, he's like had a cigar, a little glass of whiskey, and
Crazy. Like that was different times for sure. Different times.
oh yeah,
The
oh yeah.
the when Jerry Krause was celebrating on the plane after the championship, and Scottie Pippen's like, "Go sit down, Jerry." That was awesome. He's like
Just
trying to have
shitting
fun, and
on him,
Scottie Pippen's like, "Dude, get out of here.
just
We don't
still
like
shitting
you."
on him. Yeah, yeah, that's awesome.
So
They're always
good,
shitting on him.
so good. That was
That is
awesome.
good.
Um, well, we are creeping up on a long talk as always. Again,
Oh, good shit, good shit.
anything else you want to talk about?
Dude, pretty much just that motivation from that last dance, man. That was pure motivation. It got me hyped, no lie.
Oh, dude, I legit like every Sunday, I'll get with my family and we'll have like family dinner every Sunday now that we're
Uh-huh.
all in like our own space. Um,
Yeah,
and I want to say it was last Sunday when we just finished Last Dance.
heck
We
yeah.
went over there. Me and my sister were playing basketball. Like I was like, dude, I'm getting back into this. Like this is. I
Oh
want to
yeah,
run through a wall, dude. Like that was. It was
oh yeah.
super motivating, super cool. Um, to wrap it up, if you haven't seen The Last Dance, check it out. It's on ESPN. I know internationally it was on Netflix, and that's why, like at the beginning, it would say ESPN and Netflix presents, because
Mhm,
internationally it couldn't be on ESPN because it would air so
mhm.
late. So
Okay,
Netflix aired it for international. So I'm
heck
pretty
yeah.
sure it's coming to Netflix here in a little bit for everybody. So be on the lookout for it. Watch it. I promise it might even be on Netflix now. Um, it they're what like 50 minute episodes.
Yeah, 50 minutes.
and
worth
there's
it.
10 of them. So I mean,
And even ESPN.com, you just go right on there and just click originals and then just look at the episodes.
Yep. So
It's lit.
definitely worth your time. Spend some time watching that, even if you're not watching. I do recommend binging it because, as we talked, like there's timelines where you'll watch like the first part of the season for the last season, and then they'll like jump back to like Jordan's college years, and then they'll jump back to the
Hmm.
season, then they'll jump back to Pippen in high school, and then they'll jump
So
back, and then they'll
as much as you can watch in one section,
if you even
and if
if
you
you could do like 4 or 5 episodes and then 4 and 5 episodes, it'll definitely help you kind of follow that timeline.
and I was telling people, even if you don't like sports, which most of the people are watching probably like sports, but it's good. I've been recommending it to like people that don't even like sports.
The production was good. Like even and I'm nowhere near a cinematographer, whatever the hell people that study that stuff.
Yeah.
Like, but like I know, obviously, I love movies. I watch movies.
Heck
Like
yeah.
I know what like a good production is, and
Mm-hmm.
like even the production of it was really good. And yeah, the timeline thing sucked, but even them jumping and like being able to like navigate and like pull things and put it all together, like it was really super informative.
Quality.
And it's not like a boring informative. I'm pretty sure like 2 of the episodes I watched after like 6 hours of video gaming, and I was watching it like 4 a.m. and I didn't fall asleep. So if that's
That's
anything to help motivate you, like it's not boring.
seriously.
I promise you, it's really good. Um,
Seriously.
but yeah, other than that, I don't have anything else.
Heck yeah. The Last Dance.
The Last Dance. That was,
Yes, sir.
the other thing that was cool is how they took the title from Phil Jackson. Like Phil Jackson
That was
actually named the season The
and
Last Dance, and then they called it
and
that. That was
and
cool.
just how he just like processes stuff and like how he thinks, and you got to get into his mind, and how he named it The Last Dance because those meanings like mean so much to him, and
Yep.
so that was so cool how they
The
tied that
Zen
in.
Master, man.
The Zen Master,
Dude, when they
seriously.
did his flashback though, that was so cool. When he was just talking about like being on drugs and stuff like that.
Oh yeah,
It's
just
so
seeing what he
awesome.
looked like, he
Oh,
totally was
dude,
like, yeah.
big old stash, big old hair,
Oh
the
yeah.
hairy body, just wearing the tank top. He's got hair coming from everywhere.
The
Phil
straight
Jackson was the
Woodstock
man, dude.
hippie.
Did he have
Yeah.
13 championships as a player and a coach? I
Did
think
he
that
really?
I think that's what he I gotta look it up because that's the last stat I'll leave you guys with. I'm pretty sure Phil Jackson, whoops, Jackson championships. Yeah, I read a thing. It was like
Tall,
Phil,
that tall, lanky.
all of Phil Jackson, like all
He
like
played for
every
the
NBA
Pistons, right?
season. No, he played for the Knicks.
He played for the Knicks. Okay.
And that's why when he was offered that ownership or not ownership, the GM position for the Knicks, he took it in a heartbeat because that was like
His team.
that was his thing. Yeah, so he won championships. Yeah,
Like 2 with the Knicks, 3
13.
with the Bulls.
Yep, he won the 1970, 1973 with the the Knicks as a player, and then he won 91 through 93, 96 through 98, and then 2000 to 2002, 2009 and
Let's
2010.
go. Let's
13
go.
championships as a player and a
Phil
coach.
Jackson is the GOAT. That's why you should
Dude,
watch The Last Dance. The GOAT.
100%. There was an article that was like out of all the NBA seasons, all the NBA championships there's ever been, Phil Jackson was in like a fifth of them.
he
Crazy.
takes. He's got percentages.
Like
I
nuts.
know.
And I
That's
want to say his winning percentage in the finals was like 80% or something like that. Um I don't even remember how many they actually went to, but I want to say that he only lost like 2 or 3
and that,
times in the
and that
finals.
shows you his talent. You know.
Well, his knowledge for the game, and like his approach, like everyone that has a weird niche ends up being either better or has an edge on someone else because they do something so differently. Like the
Exactly. His
triangle
weird.
offense was like so simple but unstoppable.
That was sick to see.
And he just took it everywhere. Like just took it. Like I don't care if it's Jordan, Kobe, Carmelo, the triangle's coming with me. Like that's
100%.
that's my thing. Crazy.
100%.
Ended up being his downfall in the end, but it was his uprising for the 30 years or whatever that was, 70 to
Seriously.
2010, 40 years. Oh my God. It's insane. So crazy. All right, baby. Well, we will let you guys go. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Suspense, as always.
All right.
Thank you for joining me. I appreciate
Hey,
you.
thank you for having me, my man.
No problem, dude.
Good
Any
stuff.
new hot tracks coming soon?
Yeah, new stuff dropping pretty much every other week. So got
Oh,
some new stuff I'm gonna be releasing like a couple days, and then just dropped a music video like 3 or 4 days ago. So kind of just pushing that right now. So stay tuned. Stay tuned.
do it, do it. Go follow my boy. He's a good listen, I promise you. And we will definitely have you on for more episodes. We always appreciate you coming on, and the people love you. So we'll definitely
Let's
have you
get it.
back.
I appreciate it, bro. Thank
Well,
you.
go enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day weekend, everybody,
Yes, sir.
and we will talk to you soon. And as we end every episode, may the sports be with you.